Hello, beautiful people! Welcome to Wisdom Bytes. My name is David Jarzenka, and today is Father Craig Friday. Father Craig, how you doing?
I'm doing good, but David, I have to say, I just noticed something.
What's that?
Whenever you say hello, beautiful people, you always look at the camera and you never look at me. Yeah. What does that mean?
Father Craig, you are beautiful. You are made in the image and likeness of God.
Thank you. Thank you.
You are worthy. God looks on you and he says, "You're my boy."
That's right. You're my son. You're
There
my
it
boy. Proud of you, son. It's good. I like it.
Cool.
Stole my words, man.
I
Stole
did.
My
Well,
words.
you've always said them in homilies. Probably
I say it all the time. I say it
78 times in the last 3 years.
I gotta say, you're my boy. You're my girl. You know.
It's good.
So, it's
Don't
good.
stop.
All right.
Never stop. Never stopping.
Believe. Okay.
Cool.
Continue. We're on a journey here.
We are. So Father Craig Fridays.
Did you get that? That was the name of the band.
Know,
It's like,
yes.
I did. Continue.
Hello,
right.
everyone. Father Craig Fridays is the time when you can send in your questions, and a Catholic priest named Father Craig will answer them, or at least we'll talk about them together. So, Father Craig, are you ready for the first question of the day?
Roll.
Let's do it. Which body part do you wish you could detach, and why?
None, because God made me this way. Like, that's my out. But if I could, I'd get rid of elbows.
Why?
Because I keep bumping them into things and it hurts.
Oh, like your funny bone. So would you have just like straight arms? Or
I would
like,
have a serious bone.
I don't think that's true. I think you don't have a serious bone in your body.
Oh my goodness. All right.
I think it'd be pretty cool to be able to pull off an arm and just like reach things on the top shelf.
That'd be clever.
It'd be useful. I'm sure.
Yeah, it would extend. You could just put another leg underneath your other leg then.
It's harder to balance.
Okay. All right.
Detach our spine.
Onward and upward. Onward, inward and upward.
And make it longer. No, I don't know. Cool. Let's get to our
all right,
listener
Mr. Potato Head.
questions. Right. Yeah.
No.
Okay. Alrighty. Did the priesthood scare you during your conversion process? And if so, what changed?
Yeah, priests are terrifying. No, I was scared. I think, it's a fear. It's a fear of the commitment that's involved with it. Like it feels very much like, and I guess it really is an irrevocable choice. Like, it's a total self-gift, right? Mm-hmm. Yes. That's what vocation's about. And so there was a fear, of getting it wrong. There was a fear of, my own weaknesses and the like. Personal weaknesses. I think there's also a really big fear of sacrifice, right? Of having to sacrifice things and give up things. And the Lord overcame those very much just by his providence, always continuing to provide things that I need when I needed them, with a sense of consolation in when I did take those risks and faith that he would, in a certain sense, almost reward or encourage me in those. And it really was a very slow process, but it is a leap of faith at some point. There's not ever certitude, because I don't think the Lord really gives often certitude. He gives confidence, which is an act of faith, of hope, and of love. And so it's those things that helped me to overcome it. And, at one point, I think in the seminary, I was getting ready to maybe take some time away and leave, not because I didn't think God was calling me to be a priest, but rather because I was afraid of my own human weakness. And I was worried that, I wouldn't measure up. I wouldn't be enough. And yet the Lord turned that question around in your head, and he's like, well, do you think I'm enough for you? And the answer is yes, Lord. To whom else shall I go? You have the words of everlasting life. So, yeah. So I think that's the answer to that.
Gotcha.
Good. God's good.
He is.
He showed me his goodness. That's the answer.
That's awesome. Yeah. And as I'm preparing for marriage, I relate to that a lot. The maybe not certitude, but there's confidence in going into a vocation.
Right.
So
absolutely.
I love that. That really resonates.
Good.
Cool. Moving right along. Do you think Mary experienced pain in childbirth?
Okay. My answer, in my opinion, is yes. No, she did not. So in the positive, yes, she was free from the consequence of original sin in that. And so I think that she did not experience pain in childbirth. This has never been taught in the extraordinary magisterium of the church, means like in councils or that sort of thing, but rather it's been taught in the ordinary magisterium and like the general sort of continuous teaching between various, church documents and things. But the church fathers especially sort of weighed in on it, and many of them thought that she was free from the pains of childbirth. Which actually leads to support the doctrine of the Immaculate Conception, right?
Yeah.
That Mary is free from original sin and these things. But it is a much discussed question in theology. And so there's not, I guess, there's still room for conversation there in the life of the church, I think. But it seems to me most fitting that she did not experience the pains of childbirth.
Right. Because that was one of the consequences of the fall, right? Was that...
right. Genesis, in the book of Genesis, it talks about one of the consequences of the fall being the pains of childbirth, labor pains.
And so since Mary was without sin, including original sin, she wouldn't have had those consequences. Right.
Cool. And there's some theological things that I'm not an expert in that I think probably there's some legitimate room for discussion there. And I don't know if it's one of the things we'll have a resolution for and a certitude in until the Lord... we get to heaven and
reveals it at the end of time.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So he's already given this revelation, but the fullness of what we need to be able to attain salvation and share in life with him for eternity. But I think there'll be some, by the way, here's some things that really, you missed along
probably
for us or something like that. So
gotcha. Yeah. So probably, maybe not Mary experiencing pain in childbirth.
Yeah. But I think most fitting, and it seems to be that, the weight of the teaching leans towards her being free from the pains of labor.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good stuff. And finally, this is a practical question.
We'll put a link in the bio. I think Catholic Answers, Tim Staples had a really good answer to this, and that's kind of where I was reading some of the stuff that I was reminding myself of things. And so we can put that in the link, and I got that here.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, cool. Okay. Finally, a little bit more of a practical question. How do I find a spiritual director? And what qualities should I be looking for?
Admittedly, this is a difficult thing because, there seems to be a popularity in it that is increasing in popular piety, which is wonderful. And also at the same time, sort of a lack of trained spiritual directors and maybe an understanding of what real spiritual direction looks like. So I think what spiritual direction really is, I think, is an expert set of ears listening with you for how God is speaking to you in your life through processes of prayer, in your processes of prayer to help you to grow and closer to the Lord and intimacy with Him and to follow where He leads you. And so your spiritual director is listening with you to your life, to your significant moments, to your prayer, most specifically, to help you discern, right, between all the things that are going on, thoughts, feelings, and desires, which ones are of the Lord and which ones are not of the Lord. And not everyone probably is at the point in the spiritual life where they need a spiritual director. I think, you need that more when maybe you've got all the basics down, right?
Okay.
I think, you're not just needing to know, hey, I need to pray and how much I need to pray and what that looks like or how to pray. Rather, you've got that sort of stuff going, and now you're looking to discern more fully your vocation. Maybe it would be a great place for spiritual direction, or you have a position of leadership, right, within the life of the church. I think that people like that need spiritual directors. I think people who are in the more advanced stages of the spiritual life, spiritual direction can be a great help. But I don't think everyone really needs spiritual direction. I think most people probably just need some pastoral guidance to get them on the right track and then go.
Just go do the thing.
Just go to do the thing. So are you making a holy hour, right, every day? Are you praying with scripture? Mm-hmm. Are you involved in the community of faith? Do you have good fraternity or sorority, so to speak? Do you have, are you avoiding sin and the near occasion of sin, right? Those are sort of the basics of faith. Sure. And I think most people, what they want is, how do I overcome this particular problem? It's more of a problem-solving thing. Mm. But that's not really what spiritual direction is, or they want counseling, right, to identify, various problems or issues. But spiritual direction really isn't those things, so it might include some of those things. It's less about problem-solving. It's less about counseling. And it's more about how is the Lord speaking to you, and let's look at that together.
Cool. So then,
how do you find one?
Yeah. Let's say somebody's there. Now what do I do?
Yeah, so I mean, a good place to start is with your local priest, though he may not always have resources because there isn't as always many trained spiritual directors. So one of the most things that is important is finding a trained spiritual director. You may know someone who's really holy, but they may not actually have the training to be a good spiritual director. They may not, just being holy is not the only or best prerequisite for spiritual direction. Okay. Rather, it's, I think, someone who understands, the method of discernment, I think is important, and maybe has a little bit more training in the spiritual life in that regard, and really understands the distinction between, counseling and pastoral guidance, perhaps, and what spiritual direction is and isn't. But a good place to start is you might call the diocese that you're part of and say, hey, do you guys have spiritual direction program? And maybe people who are trained in it so I can find one for myself. That's a possibility. You can reach out to other people who are in professional ministry and say, hey, who do you use for spiritual direction?
Yeah.
That's a good way of doing it, sort of word of mouth that way. And you might, if you have religious orders near you as well, reach out to them. Some of them will take spiritual directees, and others don't do spiritual direction at all.
Sure.
So.
Gotcha. So then is there anything in terms of, like, let's say there are multiple spiritual directors available in the area. Is there anything in terms of personality or anything like that you'd be looking for?
Well, I mean, try them out, right? See what the fruits are of it. And just say, hey, I'd like to meet with you and discern together whether or not I should be your spiritual directee. If you're open to that, are you taking spiritual directees right now or not? And if you are, can we discern that together? And it kind of started out. So I've had a few different spiritual directors, and I'm only just now feeling like I found one that's the right fit for me, without any detriment to the first two that I kind of worked with and through their friends and brother priests. But the Lord's finally provided, I think, for me what I'm really looking for, which is that training, right? So I went straight to the source. I went and got Jesuit.
There it is.
Yeah. Who's been very helpful for me just in the past two. I feel like I've made more strides in the last two times I've met with him than I kind of had over the course of the last few years.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's been very helpful. Yeah. Very good.
Cool. Gotcha. So cool. Hopefully that helps for anybody who's thinking they might be ready for a spiritual director. That was a good, quick episode.
Good. Nailed it.
Yeah. If you have any questions that you would like Father Craig and I to discuss, please send them in to podcast@txstatecatholic.org. If you'd like to be on our other segment of the show, Testament Tuesdays, and that's the time when we share our stories to give God the glory, you could also send an email in to podcast@txstatecatholic.org.
It'd be really helpful for me too. If you're out there and you're watching us through the camera, tell me where I should be looking. Should I be looking at David, or should I be looking at the camera? Or should I do more funny things? I don't know. So tell me.
Should we get up and just walk around with the microphones in our hand?
Yeah,
it's
that'd be kind of fun.
Dance battle. I don't know.
No, Chris Pratt would win.
Isn't that you?
He wins all. He wins all dance battles. Okay.
He does.
Continue.
Indeed. So if you want to be on Testament Tuesday, send me an email, podcast@txstatecatholic.org. And finally, follow us on our Instagram @OLOWTXState to stay up to date with everything Our Lady of Wisdom. And until next time, this has been Wisdom Bytes.
Our Lady of Wisdom.
Pray for us.